You get what you think about, and you've got quite a mixed bag of what you think about because you're doing what almost everybody does. You are focused upon the now manifestations, filling your thoughts and words with the now manifestations, so you don't have any steady vibration about some of these things that really matter to you. When you focus on something, you offer a vibration about it. And as you offer a vibration about it, law of attraction responds to your vibration. And then you observe that. And as you observe it, you offer a vibration about it. And then law of attraction responds to your vibration. And then you get something more. And this is what momentum is. It would be literally impossible for you to just stop thinking all of those thoughts because they're active and law of attraction keeps bringing them to you. It almost feels futile when you approach it from an action-oriented way. But if you could leave that aside for a little while, just let that be a subject that you don't try to figure out. Don't try so hard to think things through. It's nice to have general plans about things. And of course, it's nice to have intentionality. Earlier today, we started to tell you something that Esther's been thinking about. And here is where it really fits for an explanation for you. She is realizing that she can quiet her mind. You all can. It won't take you long to know it either. So as she quiets her mind and pushes that reset button and then tunes into the frequency of her absolute well-being and stays there until a thought occurs to her, and then momentum ensues and another thought comes and another thought comes and another thought comes. Now she's asking the question, once those thoughts begin flowing, and I know for sure that I'm receiving, not thinking, could I start thinking about the things that I just received? And mightn't that be more fun than just receiving? What do you think? Think it might be more fun than just receiving? So then you just softly, with no tension, if you can just softly choose a subject that has not a lot of momentum already going, but something that you are softly interested in, and then just softly set an intention. For example, now this is something else that we want to say to you. While you're in that quieted place, you are actually an open vessel to the source within you. Which means when your mind is really quieted, every one of your trillions of cells has direct communication with your inner being. They already have communication with one another. And so now an impulse to go get something to drink or go get something to eat is a very logical next impulse. So if you follow that impulse, now you say to yourself, I want good fuel, and I want it to taste good, and I want it to revive my body, and I want it to answer these trillions of cells who are asking. Can you feel how now you have applied your more specific intentionality, that now you've put yourself in a place of even swifter momentum? So you are, hear it, co-creating with your own inner being. You know how much fun it is when you get together with a friend and you're on the same wavelength, and you're laughing about the same things, or you have interest in some of the same things, and you get in the middle of a conversation that goes so far and so fast and so fun into a place that it could not go if it was just you. Well, when you co-create with your inner being, it's like that, because your inner being holds all the knowledge of you, all the knowledge of your interests, all the knowledge of what you want, all the knowledge of your proximity to it. So when you start dancing that dance with your inner being, when you start saying, so what do you think now? What now? What now? Oh, momentum can gather so fast. You've got to get solid in what you know before you have any real power of influence. And what we want you to know is your power of influence, is not to get them to agree with you. It's that you're holding your own so much that you don't disagree with yourself. You see, that's what happens when you get together with others. If you're not solid in what you know, if you haven't meditated yourself into alignment, if you don't have the leverage of all of this knowing within you, then you are in a very fickle way, more easily distracted from who you are and what you mean by somebody else that's not even thought it through that much. And you know what else? If you've taken the time to get there, and you're playing with somebody else who has taken the time to get there, the two of you in alignment will have a conversation that will knock your socks off. When you come together with someone else who's in that kind of alignment, you don't find yourself in competition with each other. You find yourself feeding off one another. You know it. You get together. You have that kind of fun when you get together with friends like that, where it doesn't matter who's the straight guy and who's the funny guy. It doesn't matter who delivers the punchline. Everybody's laughing. Everybody's having a good time. Nobody really cares how you got there. And that's what it's like when you play with your inner being. So what we're really encouraging is that through meditation, you will come into that partnership with your strongest resource. And then with that stronger resource flowing through you, you'll be more influential. Esther spent a lot of time. She had so much fun moving furniture around and picking some new pieces and getting the house ready. And then her daughter Tracy came to visit. And there's nothing that the two of them like more than to play those games together. But Tracy was in one city and Esther was in another city, and it wasn't possible to play it together, and Esther saw no point in waiting for Tracy. So Esther just played the game with herself and with others and with her inner being, but not with Tracy. And when Tracy got there, she looked around and she was not up to speed with the changes. And she said, "Oh, no. That should be over there." And Esther just watched her move it over there and smiled. And then she said, "And that shouldn't be anywhere. That should go to the garage." And Esther just watched her pick it up and take her favorite new footstool to the garage. And Esther thought, my edge is gone. I feel no powerlessness. I feel no competition. I just feel that when Tracy leaves, I'll put it all back the way I like it. There was no point in getting Tracy to be ready. Tracy didn't know that that beautiful little table was in the perfect place and had a perfect picture over it until Esther found a lamp that looked better. And Tracy didn't know that the lamp looked better, so the picture needed to go someplace else. Tracy didn't know that. She wasn't ready to be ready. And Tracy didn't know that the picture hung in a place where it didn't belong for a little while and then was moved to another place. She wasn't ready to be ready. She just saw the finished results, and Tracy wanted to be ready. She wanted to start the whole thing over. Let's move that over there and that over there and that over there and that over there, which is really what you're all doing with life all day, every day. It's what you're doing with life all day, every day. Just finding a way to be more interested now in what moving parts you have going on around you. The thing that trips you all up is that you think that there's a giant plan that somebody else has figured out that you've got to figure it out because you think there's only one way to go and only one place that you need to be, when there are infinite places for you to be and infinite paths for you to take, and every one of them as satisfying as the next, you see. So there is no reason for you to ever feel any competition with the beloved others who are providing the contrast that helps you to create your desire to begin with. You can't get it wrong. It doesn't matter where the footstool is. It doesn't matter. It's just nice to have it where you want it when you want to put your foot up. And the garage really isn't the best place as far as Esther can see. Every particle of the universe contains wanted and unwanted. But the information that you need to understand in order for you to be able to experience that in any environment is by understanding that through this current environment and all those that have gone before, which includes even the environments not of this lifetime, even the environments of non-physical before you got here, all that you are is now in this active vibrational environment. It includes everything that you want, and its potential to manifest now is certain. Isn't that interesting? And you know why? Because you are the perceiver of it. Now, this takes some willingness to let your mind move into some places that maybe it hasn't been before. But this whole experience is a perceptual experience. Two people walking down the same street having very different experiences, because whatever vibration you're on is causing you to translate it through different vibrational lenses. So yes, that is an accurate statement. Every particle of the universe has the wherewithal to please or displease you in the variety of ways that you have already found. Because at the essence of every detail, at the basis of every detail, is an essence that once you find it, then the momentum can take it to full fruition. Did you follow that? We're talking about instant manifestation, and most people are really not up to speed yet with instant manifestation. But if you could find and actively engage in and hold steady in your vibration the essence of the things you want, those things would manifest in every experience in such multitudes that people would follow you around and wonder what you've got going on. One day, not long ago, a woman told us this story. She wanted to come to a seminar, didn't quite have the money, didn't really have shortage consciousness, just wasn't ready to have it yet, but wanted to go to the seminar. And her desire to be there in Chicago was the strongest vibration within her. So she began talking with a friend. Now, this friend is also someone who is listening to Abraham, who's up to speed. So they had that exponential thing going on where both of them were tuned into source energy, and they're walking through this very wooded area with lots of leaves on the ground, talking about this friend going to Chicago to this particular workshop. And so they're both tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and this girl looks off into the bushes and she sees something, doesn't really know what it is, it's sort of shining. She reaches over, comes out with a very large diamond earring. Too large to be real, but it was. Had a value of $9,000, and she came to the seminar. Another girl at the same seminar wanting to make her way to Chicago. Again, a friend who she visited with. Another friend who exponentially, they got themselves into these high-flying places. So she decides she wants to go to Chicago, even though she really doesn't have the means for everything that involves. And so her friend had the ability to get her a standby ticket for an airline. So she went to the airport in her city, stood and waited for the flight. The flight filled up, she didn't get on. But she didn't lose her feeling of abundance about it. And so then another flight came and left without her again. So she called her friend and said, well, I'm not on yet. And her friend was getting on a plane in her city on her way to Chicago. And so that was happy and hopeful. And then her friend said, well, why don't you ask them if they have a flight to some other city like New York, and then maybe they'll have a standby from there, which was a sort of getting ready to be ready. It was a viable thought, a thought that was being received. And so she went to the service center and she asked if she could get on a standby maybe to New York. And the woman behind the counter said, well, where do you really want to go? And she said, I really want to go to Chicago. And the woman paused for a moment. She said, wait a minute, I've got a flight going to Chicago. Hold on. She left, came back, gave her a boarding pass, sent her to a gate. When she got to the gate, she was the only passenger on the flight. They were moving a plane from one place to another. She got on. The flight attendant did the safety announcement directly to her. And then the captain got on the intercom and said, good morning, ma'am. Every moment in time has the ability to yield to you. It just depends on how keen your receptors are. Because your inner being knows the path of least resistance. Your path of least resistance means your inner being knows what your hang-ups are, what your hiccups are, what your ways to not let it flow in. So your inner being sometimes guides you over there so that you can be guided over there, so 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 you can be guided over there. So it's a path of least resistance, and sometimes it's a sort of convoluted path, but it doesn't have to be. It just depends on how much resistance you've got going.